Hi, Gay DeRusso with the Majestic rider. So today I'm riding Izzy. That's the Rocky Mountain horse mare that's here for training. And we're going to work on her gaits and just work on riding her on the trail alone. But I believe she's been on the trail by herself, but we'll see. So I'm working on her gait, so I'm not going to go right to the saddle gait. We got to warm up. And I did lunge her. I like lunging her first to get her to trot and to canter and warm her joints up, but she also tends to get on the pacey side when she gaits, so those things will also help to counteract the pace and help square up her gait more. So I'm doing that every day. So this is her flat walk, and her flat walk is quite nice out here. You see her head shaking, her mane going back and forth. That's how you know that you have a real flat walk. And then if you're doing a running walk, you should see the same thing, except the head shake won't be as deep. If they're doing a saddle gait, their heads usually you might see a little up and down, not that much. And a lot of times if they're doing a step pace, their head kind of moves a little bit side to side. And you might feel that soft bounce in the saddle. So what I'm trying to do is, build up her strength, square up her gait some. So as we're going up the hill, I'm going to try and have her move forward and drive off of her back end. When you're working on things like engagement, you're trying to build their top line and get them more underneath themselves. The gaits that do that the best are the flat walk. That's your basic first gait, which works really well for building up muscle and doing all those things. And then your running walk or your fox trot, okay? Your saddle gait doesn't take as much engagement, and some get a little bit on their front end when they're saddle gaiting and racking, so it does depend on the horse and how it has to be ridden. So this is where all the scarecrows are. So even though she's a very good temperamented horse and not very spooky, we are alone and there's a sprinkler on the loose. It's okay, Izzy. It's okay. Good girl. So mares, usually if you let them look and assess it, but don't let them run home, we'll figure it out. So I'm just going to let her look because I'm a new rider to her. She doesn't know if I'm going to help her or not. So remember, they got to look out of the side of their head. So they got to turn their head sideways to do that. And she just went to the bathroom, okay? So that tells me she's unloading in case she needs to run away. So you take all that in, like my reins better be short because she's thinking of going somewhere else. Now, you just wait it out, and then when she's not looking around or she gets bored and starts trying to eat a bush or something, then I know she's ready. But this is how you build trust with your horse. First you got to read them, and then you try to help them. And I wouldn't sit here all day if they were putting their head back and forth. I just give them some time, and then I start pushing them if they're not going. But see, her head's still going back and forth. Now she's not scared, her heart's not beating. It's not like what happens with Tilly. So she's just still checking it out. Good girl. And then we're going to go try by it. Now when we go by it again, that thing could squirt or do anything. So you want to be sitting back and be ready for it in case it does some weird noise as we go. Alright, we're going to try. Good girl. So you want to breathe, stay relaxed. Keep my left rein against her, my right rein open. Keep breathing. Good girl. Because sometimes you'll get halfway through and then they kind of squirt. Good girl. So if I got there and just kicked her, she might have done something bad or ran backwards or reared up or something like that. But I kind of just I'm with you. It's okay. You can look at it. We're all right. Okay? So you got to remember that when you're trying to get them by things. As I keep saying, my new saying I came up with is prepare them, don't scare them. So remember that. Okay? So this is her flat walk. We're in deep sand right now, so I'm just kind of pushing her back and forth with my seat. And then I got my right rein against her and left rein open as I pass those scarecrows. Okay. So I'm going to keep her head down as she goes up this hill. I am going to make her move. She's slowing down, so I'm tapping on her because I want her to do the flat walk up this hill so she gets stronger. So if she goes slower up it and does a trail walk, well, that's not going to help as much. So I got to keep pushing her a little bit, and I'm sure they're used to going slow on trail. So this is going to be a little bit faster ride for her because I can't work on gait if I'm walking slow. So all of you who tend to walk slow, if you want your horse to gait better, you have to gait. You have to practice it somewhere in the arena, in a round pen, around your barn, somewhere they have to do it. You can't expect them to hold it and stay in condition if they never get to practice the gait. Okay. So we're doing the stairs. That also builds up their hindquarters and engagement because they have to reach underneath themselves and push off, and it helps to separate their legs. So if you have things like this, you could always go over them a little faster. I went down to a trail walk as I went over those, but you could go over it at a flat walk or your foxtrot or your running walk, any of those things, because those things would help separate their legs. And once you start knowing that, you're like, oh, this is a good place to gait, and people are like, over this stuff, and you're like, yeah, my horse is pacey, so this is great for it. But always sit back when you're doing those things, because some of them will get a little bit trippy, okay, especially when they're looking around at trail. So keep their head straight, keep them paying attention. So we're still at her flat walk. She's doing good, but once in a while I just got to push on her, and I'm carrying a stick. So here she's good. She sped up a little bit, and she got her legs really separated. It felt like she was almost going to go into a foxtrot. Okay, so out here so far she's doing very well with their gaits, and she's doing well in the arena. But a lot of times when they're trail trained and haven't had a lot of arena time, they gait better out here. But you want to teach them to gait everywhere. Who doesn't want a better horse? Okay. So far she's sure-footed, climbs well. I've seen her on the trail, I just haven't ridden her out here. Now again, each horse's temperament is different. You see me ride Tilly out here, which is mare, and Tilly's very anxious and scared. She does it for me, but it's a whole different experience, and Tilly would not be good to ride alone if you were a nervous rider, okay, because she scares herself. So I just help her, and it doesn't bother me at all. She's a great trail horse. But something like this that seems like it's not going to react as much would be better for someone who's more nervous. Okay, now she's speeding up. She's just going into her saddle gait. So I let her go for a couple of steps, but we're headed downhill, and downhill will make your horse pacey. So if you got a trotty horse, you could go faster downhill than I'm going. But when you got one that paces under saddle, then you want to slow it down a little bit going downhill until you're sure they're staying in gait and doing well. Okay, so uphill makes them more trotty. So uphill is better for pacey horses, and downhill makes them more pacey. Those are your basic things. So speeding up downhill with a trotty horse will help its gait. Okay, so pacey horse, you want to find hills and obstacles to walk over. Trotty horses, you want to find declines, and you want to find a little bit harder footing, because you don't want as much leg separation. And most of the time when they go downhill, they start swinging those legs together, and then you just reward them, and in time they will start gaiting for you. Good girl. So all these little things which you probably can't see are me testing her in her ability to use her feet. And so far she's amazing. Good girl. Let's see. So I like her a lot. Okay, so now we're in deeper sand and we're going downhill. So one thing is making it go more towards the trot. That's the deep sand. And then the downhill was making her go more towards the pace. So I let her speed up in there because I knew the sand was going to help me. And she did just fine. She didn't change her footfall at all. Hardest part about this is keeping the same rhythm. Okay, lots of you constantly are just going fast, 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 and then that's all the horse knows. Work on keeping the same rhythm. You can't make your gait better if you keep changing speed. So you got to keep the same speed, right? So now we're in the sand and we're going uphill. So both those things are going to make her more trotty, which is going to help her gait. So now I know I can go faster because that's going to help me. So see how nicely she's gaiting? Now her head's coming up, so I'm bringing it down just a little. Now this gets harder right here. So I'm making her push. I'm holding her head a little bit. And I don't mind that she slowed down because I want her to push and drive off that back end because that's going to make her stronger and make her gaits better. Okay, if I was desperate and I was out for 50 miles and we came to that hill, I'll be like, do whatever you got to do to get us home. But when I'm working on gait, I'm keeping them in a good frame and getting them to drive with that back end. Okay, so we just went downhill a little bit. I stayed at the flat walk. Again, the downhill makes her pacey, but it was in sand. And so you're trying to figure out like how many things are going to go against my horse's gait. Can I speed up or, I can't. So if you have two opposite things, one that makes it pacey and one that makes it trotty, most likely you can keep your speed through that area. And I know I've covered in other videos, but the things that make your horse go more towards a trot, which would help a pacey horse, is deep footing like sand. Now she's saddle gaiting. She's kind of in between a running walk and a saddle gait. So deep sand or deep footing, climbing over things like rocks and logs and poles and cavaletti poles. Relaxing your horse's neck and back, having them go with a little bit lower head carriage and without tension, and the horse is relaxed, will help your pacey horse gait better. And then lateral things like leg yielding and serpentines and shoulder in, all those things. Okay, things that are going to make your horse pacey are like going downhill, like I'm going downhill right now. So going downhill, the harder footing. And then a lot of horses, if you turn their head a little sideways, makes them more lateral. Weird, huh? But it does. So if you're going downhill, you turn that horse's head sideways, it's probably going to get more lateral. So again, those things are going to help your trotty horse. And then with the pacey horse, it's better, if your body weight is either right behind the wither or a little bit forward, because more weight on the front helps you. And then the opposite with the trotting horse, you can put your saddle back a little bit, just a little. There, she's really digging in. Good girl. And keeping your weight back, or putting like saddlebags and putting your water bottles back there. Okay, so there's things that will help you and hurt you. So if you got a trotty horse and you're going through the sand and you're going uphill, you better slow it down or you're not going to stay in your gait. Okay, so you could just canter there. And if you're on a pacey horse and you're going downhill on a road or the footing's hard on the trail, you go slower or serpentine or leg yield, because those things will help you stay in your gait. Okay, but that's why you got to learn how to do those things. You're a trail rider, but you got to learn how to control your horse. You got to get tools so you can work with your horse, because if you don't have them, you can't fix anything. So you got to teach the horse the cues, how to do the things. You have to learn how to do it, and you got to be able to do it well at home or in the arena where you're safe before you're doing it out on the trail. There's much more stimulus out here, so the horse isn't going to listen as well. Okay, it's not a place you want to find out your horse doesn't have a good whoa after it spooks from something. Find all that stuff out from home. So I don't know if you can hear her footfall, but she's still at a flat walk, so I'm going to speed it up a little bit. So I'm just keeping a light feel on her mouth. Now I gave her little half halts because she sped up too much. Only just a little. But see, that's what happens when you just make your horse go too fast or don't control its speed. When you ask for a little speed, it just jumps forward because it goes, well, you always go faster and faster. So why don't I just go as fast as I can right now? Because horses are all about shortcuts and doing things for you. Now there's little dips in the footing. If you had a walking horse, you got to be really careful with those things because they have that big stride and you don't know where their front foot's going to land. So you want to half halt shorten that stride when you go through those gullies so they don't reach all the way across and catch their toe. Okay, so I'm going to try another little saddle gait up this hill. So it's going downhill right now. We're going to start going uphill. Okay, now I want to keep the same speed. So I half halt leg at the same time. So half halt, half halt, half halt, half halt. But she's not keeping the same speed, so I have to help her. Now I'm releasing and pushing because now that it got harder, she slowed down. Good girl. So half halt. Now I got the car with the plastic coming up. So now I'm putting my right rein and right leg against her. My left rein is open and I'm not looking at the car. Now if you look, they'll look. So look where you want to go and where you want to be. You can glance at those things so you know if it's moving. But otherwise, don't stare at it and freak yourself out and the horse will feel it. And then they go, what's she staring? Oh, look at the bag. I'm scared too. Let's get out of here. You stay calm. Stay calm. Okay. So now we're going to turn around. But we're going to give her a little break up here. Good girl. See if she wants to eat some grass. She said yes. All right. Okay, so now we're headed back. So she's watching the car with the bag flapping a little bit. Not bad. If you got a good Rocky, they have very calm temperaments, kind of like the walking horses. You know, a lot of gaited horses do. So they're calm and accepting, but you still got to ride them. So you see my reins are short, my hands are wide, and my legs are just at her side. So if I need to do something, I'm ready. See, she just jumped. That's okay. She just jumped again. But she didn't take off. She didn't do anything bad. Now, once you're past the object, don't loosen your reins yet, because those bags could still flap behind me and she's going to see it. I won't see it, but she definitely will. So I want to wait until I start going down this hill where she can't see it anymore. And I'm slowly letting my reins, if you can see them, get a little bit longer. Okay? So always prepare, and then once you're past the things, then you can relax and loosen back up. Okay? Now she's not bad, but I'm going to half halt going down the hill. Half halt, release. Half halt, release. Because she was doing okay, but she can rock back on her back end more. Now she's all right. Now, again, if you're a newbie, this is hard. What you're trying to feel is that horse's weight on its back end or its front end? You're much safer going downhill if the horse's weight is on its back end. Horses will naturally put their weight on their front end. Okay? And if you don't ride well, it's definitely going to put its weight on its front end unless somebody taught it what to do. So you want to half halt down those hills, go slower, and teach that horse to rock back on its hind quarter, because if the footing ever gives out or your horse trips, you will be much safer if most of the weight is on its back end. Okay? If it's on the front end or you're leaning forward, you're both going to go over. And I see people knock horses over all the time that normally would not have fallen. But it's your weight and where their weight is. Okay, so we're on rocks. She's barefoot. So I'm letting her pick where she wants to go with her feet, but I'm half halting, release. Half halt, release. Half halt, release. Good girl. And if you see her kind of stumbling a little bit, that's just a barefoot horse going on rocks that hurt. Okay? That's not a problem, but you could put boots on if we were going to ride on the rocks all the time. Okay. Now we're going home, so I'm going to do a little bit of stuff, but I don't want to do it too close to home. You don't want to go fast and make your horse barn sour, okay? And again, whoever you are, especially if you're a trainer, ride for the rider. Again, I know she's not going to want to go fast, super fast going home. And I don't want to make her horse fast going home, okay? I practice its gait. I can practice it once I get home and here and there. But you don't want to speed that horse up and make it too much horse for the rider who owns it, okay? Because some of them you can change. They are used to going slow and you make it fast, and then it becomes very speedy. And I tell that to people too. When you have multiple riders, I always go, it's about the person who owns the horse. Okay, so if they're leasing it but they don't like to go fast, you do not want to take it out there and gallop it, because you're going to make it nuts and then they can't ride their own horse anymore. Okay, and you know, you don't want to run it home and make it barn sour when it wasn't barn sour to start. When you're riding someone else's horse, you want to ride it how they want you to ride it. Okay, you make it better, don't make it worse. But she feels very calm and sure-footed, except when the rocks are bothering her, and safe. And that's very important things. And her gait's great, because she has figured it out and she has talent. Okay, now they changed this hill of ours, and now it's no longer deep, it's hardened. A little narrow with big drop-offs, Izzy. So I'm going to half halt release, steer with your legs, keep them in the middle when there's drop-offs so you have more room if something happens. You go on the edge and they spook, they will go right off the side. Don't ever doubt horses and what they will do to keep themselves safe. They will jump off sides and cliffs and all sorts of stuff when they're really scared, because they're thinking that's a better option. And we're like, that's not a good option at all. Alright, so we're going to push her a little bit. We're in sand, we're going uphill. Both those things are going to make her a little trotty. And she's gaiting just perfectly. You see, I spent the time in the arena first to help so she'd understand. And again, today I warmed her up. Now she got her head poked out a little bit, and I felt her starting to change her gait. She was going to get a little bit more lateral. So I asked her to put her head down and relax her neck a little bit, and then that smoothed it out. And if you're coming out here and your horse is all anxious and scared, you cannot work on gait. There is no point. You got to work on it where they're comfortable and not scared. When they get anxious and nervous, they are either going to pace or trot. Unless it's a really well-gaited horse, and then it might rack, and then you might like that it's spooky. But if it's trotty or pacey, those are the things it's going to go into when it's anxious. So I'm going to speed up a little bit right here, because again, it's uphill and it's sandy. Good girl. Now it goes downhill, so I slowed it down by just taking my energy down. I don't really like to pull on the reins, even though you see me with contact. I'm not really pulling, I'm just holding them most of the time. Now I'm going to press her forward again, so a little contact with my calves. She's good. Now a little half halt because she's looking and her ears are going forward, so maybe something's coming. Good girl. Now, Rockies are great horses, and again, most of them have shorter strides, like the Foxtrotter. That's what makes them, you know, more sure-footed than some of the walkers. Now, she's getting down that hill. Her back end was kind of falling apart. She was getting on her front end, and I was sitting back and making her go slow. But I could feel that hill was a little bit hard for her to do, so we want to make that better. We want to make sure she can climb up and down things really well. And I take them on all sorts of different trails, but this is the one at our barn. It's always a good test. And then I prepare them. I like to see, you know, are you used to stuff? So I, you know, put a bike by her, and she did okay. It wasn't the best, so I kept doing it around her, and she got much better. So I know she might not be that exposed to bikes, and I'm going to expose them to the hiking sticks and all that stuff. So then when I get out there, at least they've seen some things, and it's not as scary for them because they're better prepared. Okay, so this is her flat walk. This is not a trail walk. Okay, now we're going to try our saddle gait again because it's going uphill and it's sandy. So a little leg, keeping her head down. A little half halt, she's speeding up. Now she gets too sandy or deep, she could trot, so I'm letting her head go up just a little because it's deeper in here. Because bringing that head up just a little will help her not go into that trot. Now we got some obstacles to step over. Same thing, I could make her hit a trot after the obstacle. So there's roots sticking out. She slowed herself down and she went over it nicely, so that was good. Okay, this is her trail walk. See how slow she's walking if I don't do anything? She goes very slow, quarter horse slow. But that's why these horses are easier to ride with the quarter horse. But again, you know, warm them up, practice your gait, do stuff. You can walk slow with your friends and your quarter horse friends, but don't forget to gait and get that energy out, because they do have more endurance and they will hide it, and then it will come out at a time you don't want it to come out. They'll be like, here you go, here's all my energy. You're like, hang on. She's doing good. So we got one little incline right here. So all I'm doing is just pushing with both my legs. I'm not doing anything weird. I'm just asking for a little bit more speed. Then I catch it with my hands. So I'm ready if she starts doing the wrong gait or going too fast. I'm ready to catch her right away. But again, she's a mare, so she's smart. And she has pretty much figured out what I want. And she's doing it. She's about the business. She's like, this is what you want? I'll do that for you. You want to give me a scratch or some cookies? That would be nice. And of course I do. All right. So now on this narrow stuff that we go in, that's not a good place to gait because they can catch their feet. And she's got big feet. I'm half halting, sitting back. Half halt, relax. Half halt, relax. Half halt, relax. So I think she needs more help going downhill just to get more on her back end. And that's some of the stuff, like when they rode her, I couldn't tell that. Looked okay to me, but now that I feel her, I think it could be better and safer. Half halt, relax. Half halt, relax. Halt, relax. So see, some people would gait through here. I don't think it's safe. There's the walls on the side your horse could hit and trip. And maybe your horse never does that stuff, but I ride a lot of walking horses, so it's always in the back of my mind. Like, is that a safe place to gait or not? So keep them slow, half halt, release, half halt, release. And when you half halt, you're squeezing on the rein and you're holding till you feel the change. Feel them slow down, then release it. Feel them slow down, then release it. When you're in the narrow things like this, if you ask them to slow down and they start wobbling, release and go forward, because the forward will straighten them out. If you don't, sometimes they'll fall on the side of those walls. Now when I get home, I'm around because I want to make sure she doesn't get barn sour while she's here, and then she's going to get tied up for a bit. Because we don't want home to be a reward, okay? It's just another job. Half halt, release, half halt, release, half halt, release, sit back. There's a step down, half halt, release, half halt, release, sit back, a step down, half halt, release, half halt, release, sit back. I dropped her head so she could use her head down that one if she needed to, because that was bigger. Release, she got fast, half halt, release, let her go, drop her head. They use their head and neck for balance, so when things are in a difficult thing like that, where they got to step down something and balance you, I let go of their head. If you don't let go of their head, they cannot balance themselves as well, okay? All right, so pretty good. I'm going to serpentine down this hill a little bit just to separate her legs more and make it a little bit more comfortable. So if you're ever going downhill and you're on a gaited horse and you're like, this is the most uncomfortable walk I've ever had, you're pacing. That's what they're doing. And so you got to break up that pace. So you could go off the trail. We can't go in that farmer's land. That would be a bad thing. But you can go off the trail and walk over the shrubs and in the bad footing, that will help to break up the pace. You can serpentine, which is what I'm doing. So you bend in one direction, like bend her to the right, and then you're going to bend her to the left. That will help break up the pace. Sometimes just slowing down will break up the pace. Okay, getting their head down. I don't want it down on the ground when I'm going downhill. She's a little nervous with the scarecrows. Good girl. And then you can also leg yield. So we can leg yield off our right leg. Izzy, I said we could leg yield off our right leg. She's like, I felt your leg, I just ignored it. Now we can leg yield off our left leg. And we can do it again, leg yield off your right leg. So this is just your arena work, but practice it out here. And make sure when you're pushing them sideways, they're not speeding up. Now we have that water to go past, but anything on the way home is not as scary for the horse because they're more motivated to get past it to get home. So take a deep breath. Good girl. Sit back. You're okay. Keep talking. Good job, Izzy. So she was a little worried, but not bad. She trusted me. She's like, if you said it's okay and home's right there, I'm going. But each horse is different. Some won't, you know, they get very scared. And that's why when you're buying these horses online, especially, you got to ask them a lot of questions. And some people are going to tell you the truth, and some aren't. And sometimes they are telling the truth, but the horse is in a totally different situation, and you're a different rider, so it behaves differently. Okay, the best thing is to go test them so they can feel your energy, and go buy some scary stuff and do some gating and see if you can actually ride it, if it responds to you or you're scaring each other, because some horses and people scare the heck out of each other. Then it's just a bad situation. You're like, no, it's time to go. That horse needs a better rider and you need a duller horse. All right, so we're back, and that's Izzy. She's a good one. She's not for sale, but she's a great horse. And if you have a Rocky like this, congratulations, you got a nice one. Okay, remember to like and subscribe.